Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Gabby. In case this is your first time watching some of my videos, I like to do videos on pretty much just everything and anything in my life. So today's video, guys, I wanted to talk about my pregnancy story and then some of the things that I would change, and as well as some of the things that I would recommend to purchase. Keep on watching this video. Look guys, baby stuff. And that is because my baby is here with us now. Pretty much my due date was August 14th. I really wanted her to come that day, but she didn't. She actually came August 21st. So that is a week after. She was born on Sunday at 5 a.m. 5:06 a.m. something like that. I started feeling very iffy on Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. I was at work. So I pretty much worked up until like 3 days before delivery. So I was at work this day, like I just felt like my body was stretching, and by that I mean like my hips were just stretching even more. Like I was starting to feel very like tired, but at the same time like getting a lot of like little pains here and there. And even my manager was like, hey, I think that the baby's coming soon because you don't look too good. And I was like, oh crap, like maybe she's right, because like I don't feel like, I feel differently from what I've been feeling. So my mucus plug comes out. I'm like, oh okay, it's time, like it's gonna be anytime soon, like let me just start waiting on the contractions. But nothing happened. Comes Friday, I'm having these contractions and I'm feeling very off. Like I'm feeling pain, but it's like every hour, and then at nighttime they became like every 5 minutes. It's just like, I don't know if these are contractions, because when you're a first-time mom, it's so hard to tell, like, am I having contractions or am I having Braxton Hicks? So I was feeling this way. I gave him a call because like they want us to call them before we go to the hospital. So I gave him a call. I said, hey doctor, this is what's going on. I'm not sure if they're Braxton Hicks, but I'm having these kind of cramps and they're very inconsistent. They're either every hour or they're every 5 minutes, but I'm having like really bad pains. And he's like, okay, he's like, come to the hospital because you're already, you know, we're already going into 42 weeks. So just come into the hospital, we'll get you checked out and let's see where you're at. So he's like, okay, you know what, we're gonna just send you home. I didn't want to come home because of the pain that I was feeling. If the doctor says I have to go home, then I have to go home. So here we come back with all of our stuff, me, my mom, and my husband. We come back. It's Friday, like all of Friday and all of Saturday. I was just having a bunch of contractions. And like around Friday night, I gave him a call again. And I'm like, doctor, like I'm having these contractions again. Like, what do I do? Because I'm getting really frustrated and I'm really scared that I could be having real contractions and I don't even know, because now I am confusing Braxton Hicks for like contractions. And sorry I didn't explain before, but Braxton Hicks are pretty much false contractions. So it's like the initiation of labor, like it's the way you're supposed to be feeling like if you were in labor but you're not really in labor, which is like false labor, or pre-labor is what they call it. So I just was, at the time I was just overwhelmed, I was stressed, I was overstimulated, I was over it. I hated every minute of like the last 2 days because I was just uncomfortable and my mind was just going 1,000 miles per hour. I was like, okay. And then he tells me, you know what, take some Tylenol and Benadryl, something like that. And he told me to take these 2 medications, and he's like, if for any reason your contractions stop, like the pain stops, then that's how you will know you're having false contractions. And then, you know, I start taking it, and then during the nighttime I'm still feeling some discomfort to an extent, but not as much. So I'm like, okay, maybe I am having Braxton Hicks. They're not the real thing, but you know, they're just so painful that obviously the Tylenol, like the 200 milligrams of Tylenol, is not going to take away the pain completely. So I take the medicine, and all of Saturday I'm just very uncomfortable. I can't sit comfortably, I can't lay comfortably. And that's one thing that the nurse had told me. She's like, you know, you will be having real contractions when you can't do anything and no position is comfortable. So I was at that point where like no position was comfortable, not even a warm bath was taking the pain away. And at this point, it's Saturday night again. It's like 11 o'clock, like 10 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm over it. I just want to go to the hospital. I'm done with this. I didn't even call the doctor at this point because I didn't want him to tell me to just stay home. So I just go to the hospital. I check myself in to ER and everything. And the nurse comes in and she like measures me, and she's like, oh my god, you're at 5 or 5.5. She's like, I can't really like tell if it's 5 or 5.5. And I'm like, see, I knew I was having real contractions, but like, what the heck? So in literally a span of like 48 hours, I had went from 1 centimeter to 5.5 to 6. She's like, okay, we're gonna check you in, we're gonna admit you up to your room, and we're gonna get you ready to give labor. And I was like, oh my god, like shit, this is happening, this is happening. So this is all happening like around 12 o'clock Saturday, so like I guess going into Sunday morning. So they check me in. I'm in my room by 12. Yeah, by like 12. The nurse comes in and she's like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and put your epidural. I did go with the epidural. I said it from the beginning. I wanted all the drugs that they could give me because what I really wanted, it's not that I was trying to avoid the pain, but what I really wanted was to enjoy my experience and be present with my delivery. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the epidural is really not that bad. I think the scariest part of the epidural is obviously that they tell you like, hey, you can't move, like you have to be very careful. They come in, they give me my epidural, and like maybe in like 15-20 minutes after, my OB comes in and he induces me, so, or breaks my water. I didn't know exactly what he did because I was shaking so much, and I don't know if it was from the medication or if it was like that I was just very like scared and paranoid at the moment. They were just like, okay, so for the next 4 hours, we're gonna come in every 30 minutes and like move you. So like we're gonna flip you, put you in different positions to like provoke the contractions even more. So I was like, okay. And she just, you know, told me, hey, like if you start to feel pain, just click the button. She's like, but if you start to feel pressure like in your butt area, like if you have to poop, then you let me know, because that means delivery is on its way, like the baby needs to come out. So she's like, we're gonna leave you like this for 4 hours, and hopefully within the 4 hours you're at your full 10 centimeters, and if you are, then we're gonna start pushing. So I was just like, oh my god, like okay, like the whole time I was praying, like it's in your hands, God, like whatever you want, however you want my baby to come out, because I was afraid that they would maybe break her little shoulder. I was afraid that she would come out with like an infection or just something going wrong. So I was just like, God, like this is in your hands, like this is your child that you're welcoming into this world, and however you want to welcome her, like just give me the strength and give me the tools that I need as a mother to take care of her, and just no C-section. Just God, let's just keep going this way. So 4 o'clock comes exactly on the dot, and my nurse comes in and she's like, okay, we're gonna check you to see like if you've dilated even more, and if you have, then we're gonna go ahead and get started. So she comes in and she like measures me and everything, and she's like, oh my god, oh my god. At this point I couldn't feel her, so when they measure you too, that shit hurts because they're putting like a lot of pressure on you. So I couldn't feel anything, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, am I still like at 5? Like, have I not dilated? Like, what is going on? And she's like, no. She's like, you're at your full 10 centimeters. Oh my god. She's the one that was freaking out, running around. And I'm just like, oh my god, like this is happening. Like, this is really happening. Like, I was just in shock. Like, I'm like, am I really about to bring a human being into this world? Like, am I about to be a mom? Like, I was just in shock. So she's like, I'm gonna call your doctor because it's time, like, you know, like we have to get this going. So she's doing a bunch of things, and she's calling the anesthesiologist, and she's getting all these people, and I'm over here trying to FaceTime my mom because unfortunately like only one person was able to come in, and that was my husband. So I'm over here trying to FaceTime my mom. I'm trying to like pray as well, like just God, please, like Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, Santa Maria. You know, I was going in on my prayers. I was like, no, God, like let this not be the day where I pass out, okay? Because I need to be fully here, aware for my daughter. So I'm like, okay. And I also was just like, please don't let it be a boy, because I have everything in pink. So here I am doing my prayers and everything, and here comes my OB, and he's like, oh no. And then my OB comes in and he measures me. He's like, yep, she's at her 10. He's like, okay, well, he's like, call me when you guys are like 10-15 minutes away from delivery. So I guess like once I start crowning, and she's like, okay, but you know, she's like, okay. So we started practice pushing. That's what she was calling it. She's like, okay, let's start practice pushing, and we're just gonna keep doing this until we start to see the baby crown. So okay, so there I am, practice pushing for like 20 minutes, and then she's like, oh my god, like you're crowning, I can see her. And I had told her, I said, you need to tell me that I'm doing a good job, because that's what's gonna motivate me. And she wasn't telling me. She was just like, okay, push again and again and again. And I was like, oh my God, woman, tell me what my progress is, because if you tell me that I'm progressing, I'm even more motivated to push. So then my doctor comes, she calls my OB, he comes in and he's like, okay, we're ready. I'm shaking, about to puke. And she's like, all her signs are there, like she's ready for delivery, because I guess that's a sign, like the shaking. I was shaking, y'all, like, and my doctor was just like, you just need to like calm down. And obviously you can't really calm down, like you're freaking out this whole time. I'm just like, I can't feel anything, which was even scarier, because I'm like, I can't feel anything down there. And she's like, but do you feel pressure? I'm like, I feel some kind of pressure, but I don't really feel anything. So I was scared that I wasn't pushing like enough, and also being honest with y'all, I was like trying not to push a lot, because I was freaking out internally that I was about to have a human being with me for the rest of my life. But there I am pushing, and then all of the doctors like, push, like you're coming, you're almost there. And then my husband's like, I can see her head. So I'm like, oh my God, like fuck, like I really am fucking pushing, even though I think I'm not fucking pushing, I really am fucking pushing, because they can see my baby's head, like holy shit. And at this point I go into mom mode, because I'm like, oh my God, if I don't get this baby out, she's gonna like drown. I don't know, like she's gonna like suffocate in my little hoo-ha. So I'm like, I need to get my baby out at this point, because there's no going back. Like we gotta get this child out. So I'm like, for like 40 minutes, like just pushing, and it just felt like a big booger came out, like someone just took a booger out of me, honestly. Like I didn't even feel her come out. I didn't have any pain whatsoever. It was more like just like exhausting, because they want you to like push, and when you breathe in and you breathe out and you're like, I don't have nothing else to breathe out, that's when you're just like, oh my God, like how do they want me to push if I don't have any more air? So here I am, and then I feel the baby, like I feel like something very wet and gooey come out of me, and I'm like, oh my God. And they put her right on me, like it happens so quick. They put her right on me, and I'm just like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, should I cry? Because in the movies, they, you know, moms always cry. And then just hearing her cry, and like she tugs on me for the first time, like on my skin, like she like grabs onto it, that's when I cried, because I was like, oh my God, this child is depending on me, like this is my child. So yeah, when they put her on me, that's when everything becomes like obviously super surreal, because you're like, wow, like I just gave birth. And as a woman, you're feeling a lot of things, like you're feeling scared. Well, at least me, I was feeling scared, I was feeling nervous, I was feeling anxious, I was worried, I was excited, I was happy, I was in love, but I was depressed at the same time. So I was feeling a lot of things. And I was just like, wow, like did I just really take on the biggest responsibility in my life? Like she was in me, and when she was in me, it seemed all like very like, it was like all in my imagination, like the way I pictured things. But now that she was here in real life, I was like, wow, this is really... All right, so as we had left off, obviously now she's here with me and everything, and things are different, but I really wouldn't have it any other way, if I'm being honest with you guys. But now I understand when people say I would give my life for someone, because I really would give it for my daughter. So yeah, that's how my experience was at the hospital. Everything went good. I was released 2 days later. I did tear a little, and they did have to stitch me back up, which was super uncomfortable. Like once the medication had wore off and I was like feeling everything, I literally was in a diaper, and like literally in an adult sized diaper, like just, oh, bless you. Sorry. See, this is what happens in mom life. And that's something that people don't talk about a lot after, like, hey, if you tear, it's gonna be very uncomfortable to walk. Your back hurts from like the removal of the epidural, and all the pressure that was like in your butt area. It's like really sore as well. And I had my period. Well, now it's kind of like slowing down a lot, but I did have my period. Well, I have had my period since my due date, which was the 21st, and now currently today is 14th of September. So we're 10 days, like, no, we're like a few days shy from it being a full month, but that makes it extremely uncomfortable. So obviously, like, coming home, you have now this newborn child that you're trying to figure out. They're not sleeping, you're not well rested. You have to figure out them, you have to figure out your own body, because hormones are all over, and also like your emotions are as well. And on top of that, you're just very uncomfortable because obviously your body's still aching from the recovery of bringing a child into the world. And at the same time, like, you're recovering down there from your hoo-ha, your body, mentally, everything. So it's a lot to process in such a short amount of time. And now I understand why it's so easy to have depression or to fall into these kind of things, and into these thoughts and go down into a spiral, because you come home, and if you know, even if you have help, you're still kind of like locked within four walls because you're just trying to like recover from it all and trying to adjust to this new like life of yours, this new routine. And then on top of everything else, from my perspective, like, the mom community can be such a blessing and such a curse at the same time, because everyone is so critical of the way you do things, of what you're doing, and everyone wants to know your business and more. And on top of that, everyone is texting you. And when I mean like everybody, I mean like everyone's texting you, which is so nice. And don't get me wrong, it's a blessing to have that, to have so much love coming in, but it's very overwhelming because there's a lot going on, like I said. So the first few days out of the hospital, I want to say the first 2 to 3 weeks, the first 2 weeks, they were hectic. Things have started to slow down now that I'm... So something that I would change is not taking my own gowns. Like, the hospital literally gives you everything. Like, I would probably just take like a comfortable tight joggers and sweater for like when I'm leaving the hospital, and I would take one onesie for the baby, and that's about it. I had her in like her clothes, but they would take it off her so many times because obviously all the routine checkups that they do on them. Like, I wouldn't take snacks. The hospital literally had a full menu and I could order anytime that I wanted. Of course, the most important thing is like the car seat and the stroller, of course. But 5 things that I would definitely recommend is the Freedom Mom Nose Boogie Sucker. Something else that I would recommend is this little bath chair that I got. This like little baby, I guess like portable bassinet, you could say. On top of it being comfortable, it's lightweight, so you can literally move it anywhere. And I like how it has a little round like border around it, because then I know that like if she wiggles around, she won't fall. And then of course, if you're going to be breast pumping, I would recommend the little breast pump milk bags, to have those handy. That being said, maybe I guess I should have said 6. A bottle warmer that warms up their bottle like in increments of seconds and up to minutes. But yeah, guys, I think that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed just hearing how my experience went. I hope there's something that you guys can get from it. If you guys want to ever message me like privately or send a comment back down below, like, please do so. I'm super open to like talking about more of my experience and just things that it's time for me to go. Have a good night. Bye.